Good morning and happy Tuesday. It is 7:30. Welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett on News 6 Plus and clickorlando.com. I'm your host, Bridgett Ellison. Hope you're having a nice start to your Tuesday. And as you get ready to head out this morning, you won't need the jacket. Kids won't need the jacket or the sweater. Meteorologist Candace Campos is in the Pinpoint Weather Center. And you said that one of your daughters says, sweater, no sweater.
That's
Sweater, no
always because
sweater.
we always pick out our outfit the night before for sanity, especially my younger one who loves to dress up.
Mm-hmm.
So she always asks, sweater or no sweater? I said, cold or no cold? I said, no cold. You can put the sweaters in that drawer all the way in the back of the closet. You don't need them for a while. And that's basically
Unless your office is cold, your classroom.
Unless your office is cold and you have a little heater here and a sweater here. So yes, we use sweaters, as you can see what Bridgett is wearing.
Yes,
we use sweaters all the time here in Central Florida. Yeah, but it's going to be all about the heat, Bridgett. So let's take it to the map, show you what's going on. We're going to be talking about temperatures in the low 90s today. About 92 will be your high, which is not horrible. It's kind of summer-like, right? And then we have the chance of rain at about a 20-30% across our inland zones. Then as we head into your Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that's when we are going to start seeing rain go away, the cloud cover go away. Those are the two real cooling factors that are in play during the summer, which is why it takes a lot for us to get to 100 degrees during the summer, because we get those sea breezes pushing through. Well, we might get the sea breezes, but we're not going to get any rain or any cloud cover along with it. So because of that, it's going to allow those temperatures just to soar. As we head into your weekend, though, we will watch the approach of our next cold front. And cold front is kind of a stretch. We're going to see a front that's going to change things and bring it back, highs back into the 80s. So looking here at the clouds and rain forecast, by 1-2 o'clock, you see the bubbling up of those scattered showers. They'll push west and east along both of those sea breezes where they collide. By about 5-6 o'clock is where we will see that chance of rain. You can see it there with that cloud cover right there by about 6 o'clock across inland zones. Has the potential of firing up a couple scattered showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm, and that is about it. As we head into your Wednesday, there's really not going to be any rain to really pinpoint. So as we take you here hour by hour for your Tuesday, temperatures will be in the low 90s, about 92 degrees, rain chances up to about 20-30%. In the meantime, we're going to have this big ridge of high pressure in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. We also have a high down at the surface. So the combination of these two highs pretty much stacked up on top of each other is going to continue to just really stabilize our air mass, keep things very plain Jane. Problem with that is that when you don't have anything to kind of disrupt the heat, we're going to get just tons of heat. So that's the problem right now. So as we look here, the temperatures, the orange bars are the actual temperatures that we're forecasting. The red bars are the feels like temperatures, also known as the heat index. So for instance, today, a high of 92, it'll feel like the mid 90s. Not comfortable. It's still going to be hot. As we head into your Wednesday, your Thursday, you can see your highs are going to be hitting like 96, 98 degrees, but the feels like temperatures will get closer to that 100-degree mark. So there will be that chance of not only seeing temperatures in the upper 90s, but feeling like the triple digits. Then that cold front approaches our northern zones by Saturday. Rain chances do go up to about a 20-30%. But what it will do, it will be bringing temperatures a little closer back to that normal in the mid to upper 80s, just in time for Mother's Day. So certainly a nice Mother's Day, not crazy hot, not crazy rain, just a nice day if you want to make plans outdoors. I'm not going to say it's super comfortable, but it will be much more comfortable compared to maybe if Mother's Day was, let's say, Thursday. We're talking about a 10-degree swing there between Thursday and Mother's Day on Sunday. So not looking too bad. Look at your overnight lows, though. When you're talking about temperatures in the upper 90s, those lows take so much time to cool down. We'll have a stretch of wake-up temperatures in the 70s, like how we started a big portion of Central Florida this morning, Bridgett.
All right. Well, I'll try to keep cool, Candace, as best I can.
I know. Crank up the AC. Keep cranking up the sprinklers because, as you could tell, there's not a good dose of rain, at least in the near future.
Well, funny story. My daughter, my 8-year-old, has learned how to adjust the thermostat.
Uh-oh.
At home. I came home and it was freezing yesterday.
No. My daughter, a couple days ago, my youngest decided to turn on the shower to go take a shower and then forgot that she turned on the shower.
It's so
I
dangerous.
I have no idea how long the shower was running. I will find out
You
when
shall.
Sunshine Services sends me my bill in the mail.
I have a horror story. Hundreds, not thousands, but hundreds of dollars in horror to tell you about later.
Okay, that'll
But
be for
that
another day.
fingers and toes crossed that it wasn't on too long.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Bye.
Candace. Bye.
Sure, bye.
Okay, and Trooper Steve is standing by, right next to Candace. How's it going this morning?
It's getting actually pretty busy out there.
Okay.
I got kind of weird a little while ago. We do have a pretty serious crash that just came out over in
Mm,
Longwood, and very big transition area that is shut down. So we can go straight to Department of Transportation camera. Downtown, not bad this morning, and that's not what I'm talking about. It is right here, 434 US 17. This is west of Winter Springs, right there just east of the railroad tracks. This area is shut down. Longwood Police Department working a very serious crash. Don't know exactly the details on this crash yet, but it is causing some major issues out there. So if I'm going to give you a detour, it's going to be simply to say avoid this area as much as possible, please, because to get around this is going to be interesting. Once we have information on this crash, we'll push it out. So make sure you have the New 6 app so you can get those push alerts and be notified. Zooming out here a little bit to give you some reference of where we're at. We're right there in that transition between Longwood and Winter Springs, north of Castleberry, south of Lake Mary, east of I-4. So if you travel through here, plan at least another extra 20 minutes. This crash came out a little while ago, also 520 at Taylor Creek. Now, FHP had this reported with a serious roadblock. However, my map is showing that no, things are moving pretty good along 520 at the moment. So we'll see. But if you're getting ready to leave the Cocoa area, be wary of that. We were watching this crash in Michigan along Carroll. This is completely cleared out. You'll just see some debris hanging out on the shoulder, but no issues anymore. And a crash at Universal and Convention Way. Your drive times high this morning, 46 minutes. Osceola Parkway to Colonial. I-4 out in Seminole, not horrible this morning, so just be careful. 436 moving pretty good. 429 routine delays along Winter Garden and Coe, but the Turnpike checking out nicely. Why I have you here, I do want to check, and so we can move the map just to see what is causing these crazy drive times out there this morning. No crash along the I-4 area. We are seeing a heavy delay right there. You can see along 535 and I-4. So I do think this is contributing heavily out there, Bridget. But man, that 40-something minutes, that's heavy to get from Kissimmee to downtown. So people need to plan ahead. The stream today will be normal. It'll be over at 8:30, but I'm in a training class learning a new system that you guys are going to all get to see, fingers crossed, Friday. So we'll see what happens.
some new and improved features.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's going to look real cool. It's going to look different. I'm going to be able to do different things on the traffic map. So to bring, the most current and up-to-date results for our viewers.
Can't wait to see the big reveal.
We'll see how it goes.
I'll let you get back to learning all the ins and outs, tips and tricks of that one.
Sounds good, ma'am. I'll talk to you
All right.
later.
Thank you, Steve. So this morning we have some news to get to. We also have a financial advisor standing by to talk to us about graduation season and when it comes to giving gifts to your grads, how to go about that gifting, as well as making sure that they're ready for all the money management that will soon be coming into their life as young adults. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, some big news from overnight. There has been an arrest in the story we've been following. We told you about it yesterday. It was a crime alert in Orlando, and now a man is facing charges for being accused of exposing himself to a young girl who was walking to Howard Middle School on Friday. Ezzy Castro explains how police are now working to make sure no one else was victimized in this.
Orlando police arrested 34-year-old Gilmore Mauricio Medina, accused of exposing himself to a minor. It happened just before 9 Friday morning in Summerlin Avenue and Washington Street in Thornton Park.
Today we learned about a student who was approached by a stranger while walking to school Friday morning.
The girl is a student at Howard Middle School, and the principal warned parents over the weekend about what happened.
Parents, please talk to your children about stranger danger. Remind them to be aware of their surroundings and walk or bike in groups.
According to detectives, Medina was driving a blue car and was naked while he followed the victim, but she managed to run away. Medina is now charged with lewd and lascivious behavior, exhibition, and exposure of sexual organs.
That's a troubling story there. We'll keep you updated if there are any more developments in that. Also, from overnight, the Starliner launch. It was scrubbed again overnight. It will now be Friday at the earliest before Boeing tries once again to get this first crewed test flight off the ground with its Starliner capsule. And liftoff was supposed to happen just after 10:30 last night. They called a scrub for a problem with an oxygen valve. As News 6's Mark Lehman explains, Boeing says it will be days before they try for this historic launch again.
The vehicle is not in a configuration where we can proceed with flight today.
The launch team announcing a scrub last night for the highly anticipated crew test flight of Boeing's Starliner capsule. The mission was entering the final countdown when a problem surfaced. It wasn't with Starliner. Instead, it was with a valve that regulates pressure on the upper stage of the Atlas V rocket.
We saw the self-regulating valve on the lock side had a bit of a buzz, and so it was moving in a strange behavior.
United Launch Alliance, which operates the rocket, says the valve needed to be cycled. With astronauts on board, that meant the crew needed to leave the capsule, and the launch called off for the night.
Our flight rules called for us to scrub and to take the crew off before we cycled that valve.
Astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams leaving the launch pad and heading back to crew quarters until the next attempt. It's a minor setback for Starliner, which has seen years of delays and missteps. With so much riding on the mission and lives at stake, safety is the top priority.
So we're taking it one step at a time, and we're going to launch when we're ready and fly when it's safe to do so.
And so we'll keep you posted on the latest with Starliner as we get closer to Friday and the new launch window time. Now we want to get to some financial advice. You know, on Fridays, we like to talk to photojournalist Corey Murray about building generational wealth with his podcast. And today we have the president of Osprey Retirement Solutions and financial professional Eric Hutter standing by. And we're talking about graduation season. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Bridgett. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you. We have, of course, been talking about all the commencements that are now underway, and other kids are wrapping up the school year and all the testing that's happening. And so there's a lot of gifting happening this time of year, and you have some different strategies on how to approach this busy time of year when it comes to all the graduates in our friends and family groups.
Right. And I think it starts with is the graduate coming out of middle school, which might lend itself to a different level of gifting, monetary gifting, if it's a high school graduate, or are we talking about college graduates? And there's a lot of things to consider, but you know, I look at students today, and so many students are in gifted programs, and they're pursuing athletic endeavors, and I sometimes base or find that parents and grandparents and family members have they want to gift kind of accordingly, but I think the fundamental problem is you got to stick to a budget. So don't be pressured into giving more than you can really afford. You know, there's a lot of families that are retired, they're on pretty much a fixed income. So again, stick much closer to a budget than somebody that has maybe more disposable income. But I think a general rule might be, if it's a high school graduate, you know, and it's an acquaintance, not a family member, you know, $30 to $50 is a comfortable amount. If it's somebody that's a family member or a niece or a nephew, I find that traditionally a lot of people want to gift somewhere between $75 and $100. But again, it's the thought and the love behind the gift that's important. And
we do like cash, but it doesn't have to be cash necessarily. What are some other great ideas in terms of gifting the students?
I think that's a lot of family members and maybe even, you know, friends of the family want to pool their money together to maybe give an iPad or a laptop, something that is going to be useful. If it's a high school graduate going on to college, obviously that's going to be very important to them, but something that's very thoughtful, but that may be very appropriate for where that student is in their next chapter.
Florida prepaid closed up a few days ago. So, the enrollment happens annually for a certain period of time. There are some ways, though, that family and friends can help support the college funds and those room and board expenses as well.
Right, right. Yeah, there's a lot that can be done. I mean, inflation has caught up with all of us. I don't know anybody that's not experiencing challenges and increasing costs. So, there's a lot that can be done around. We talk about budgeting, but we also teach our younger children what is a budget. What does that look like? Money that they receive, it's nice if you can maybe walk them into the bank and have them open their first bank account, right? And then they understand how to run a checkbook, how to run a ledger, right? Go to the grocery store, take your child, take a grandchild, whatever, have them go shopping with you and point out things so that they understand more, because kids, if they're not exposed to this, are going to come out of high school or college naive, and we can't afford that to happen.
Eric, I know when I was in college, there were lots of credit card companies on campus. I'm sure they've probably cracked down on this by now, but kids could sign up for credit cards. There would often be freebies that were given out to lure you over to get that clipboard and fill out a form. And many times those were negative experiences around money and credit scores, not to mention sometimes those advances you get with financial aid, and then sometimes not budgeting those funds correctly toward your school expenses. So it's a rude awakening sometimes when kids get off to school.
Right. And credit, having a credit card is not a bad thing. But it needs to be understood. It can be dangerous. Credit scores are very important. And if you're, you have to be very careful about how that credit is extended to a child. But oftentimes when the kids are away at school, you want them to have a credit card for unforeseen emergencies that they can use. But I think that's just, again, good parenting, good, with grandparents, sitting down, maybe having that talk with their grandchildren. It's just understanding how a credit card is to be used and not to be abused, because credit can quickly be abused, and it can be obtained fairly quickly in these college and campuses that I had that experience at Florida State myself.
Mm-hmm. When you talked about opening up the account, maybe helping that younger student open up an account, are there other suggestions for gifting, maybe stocks or starting them some other money management account? What do you think?
Yeah, if there's some sort of, depending on the age, again, if they're working part-time, they're 15, 16, and they actually have some sort of part-time job, we can actually open up a minor Roth, so this is an account that's going to grow tax deferred, but the eventual money coming out of it will be tax free. And I think that's a great tool to have that conversation. If they're younger, we could establish, we talk about, when parents or grandparents are putting money away for college, they want to establish a 529 plan. So again, that's money specifically set aside for eventual college or high school expenses. But there's a lot of tools that we like to use, but it all depends on the age, and how early do you start? I mean, I've had kids as young as 5 and 6 that start to understand what money is and how to spend it. What I find kind of neat is if the parents are giving responsibilities to their children, on a daily or weekly basis. Okay, Johnny's going to do the dishes, or he's going to help dad cut the yard. But in return, you can give them that allowance, but was payment for services that they're understanding. That's kind of how life works, and they start to get good habits and understand that money isn't just freely available. You have to kind of earn it.
Do you have a formula you suggest for how to point kids in the right direction with spending, saving, planning for emergencies? Is there a ratio you like to start with, or just in general, making sure they understand and have a few different buckets?
Yeah, I like the bucket approach. Whether it's opening up a couple different bank accounts or using the envelopes. I mean, it might be as simple as just starting envelopes and saying, what are these envelopes for? We're putting money. Let's say we get $10 this week, and we're going to, allocate $2 to each of these envelopes. And then what's the goal? What are we eventually saving this money for? So I think you start having to really kind of coach your children, grandchildren about that it takes some time to get to these goals and saving this. And so hopefully, there's some inspiration, that this is kind of fun. And then eventually they get to spend it. Maybe there's a fun envelope, right? That's going to be for something that they want personally, that, maybe it's a new fishing rod. I love to fish, right? So my grandkids are niece and nephews. Some of them really love that too. So that's kind of fun to go shopping with them once they reach their goal, and we can now have fun spending it. But then the others might be more serious, envelopes for, maybe your college books or high school books or whatever other things you're going to need for high school or college.
And it instills a great work ethic early on as well, when they can understand the value of that dollar. And many times students are learning through actual banking, even in high school. Some of the high schools now have these experiences with working a bank, a real bank.
Right. Yeah, there's some very nice gifted programs out there that I love when I see that, because it's not something that was around when I was in that
Right.
age range, so it's but things are much more expensive, and it just takes a lot more money, and it does take more discipline. And the earlier we can start that with our children and our grandchildren, the better off they'll be in the future, and the more successful they'll eventually be.
And so you talked about the 529. Do you recommend that to all parents when they are,
Well,
or do you just say, how do you determine if that's
it's
right for you?
it's an additional tool, Bridget, but I think they have to start with the college prepaid plan. I mean, at least that's the foundation. I mean, I love when grandparents are just helping fund the college prepaid plan. Once that's funded, fully paid for, maybe do a 529 plan, because the 529 plan is still going to be tied to investments, tied to the stock market. That could work out really good, or it could work out not so good. So, but at least the foundation would be with the college prepaid plan in Florida, that is. And again, a lot of students are going outside Florida, so that may not be helpful. But it's not a bad add-on to do a 529 plan. Again, depending on the resources, there's families that we don't want money to be just gifted for material things. We really want that money to be gifted for more of an intentional purpose. And I think that's where that money could be funneled into the 529 plan and be much more useful down the road. Obviously, it's going to come a little sacrifice now, but it is very important.
Are there any cautionary points in terms of maybe opening up joint accounts with the kids, or sometimes in situations, say you hit a financial bump and your accounts run low, but then it pulls from the children's accounts? Do you see that sometimes where people say, oh, I didn't know my bump in the road was going to affect my kid's account? What do you advise in that regard?
Yeah, it's a great question, Bridget. Every family's different and circumstances change, but it wouldn't be a bad thing to keep that separate from, your personal finances, so that you don't have a problem. The last thing you want to do is, help your kids, and then you go backwards because of something like that, some mismanagement on your part. And that overdraft and those things happen, but overdraft protection isn't a bad thing either. So you're not penalized if there is some shortcomings financially.
All right. Great advice. And where can we learn more?
Website, ospreyretirement.com, and listen to me on the radio every week, 540 WFLA out of Orlando.
Awesome. Well, great to have you, Eric, and hope to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bridget. Had fun.
Take care. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So, it is that time of year, and that's some great advice right there. Eric Cutter from Osprey Financial. And Kathleen, do we have time for any more news? Are we going to get ready to head out? The flamingo contest? Okay. If you're an insider, make sure you head over to clickorlando.com/insider. sign up for Discovery Cove's new Flamingo Mingle and the whole all-inclusive experience. We're giving away a 4-pack of tickets to Discovery Cove, and this is a great value because this is all-inclusive. You swim with the dolphins, snorkel with the fish, and now mingle with the flamingos. It's free to be an insider. clickorlando.com/insider. Sign up. It's free. And then you can enter this contest through, is it next Tuesday or today is the last day? Through next Tuesday, you can enter to win these tickets. I have not been to Discovery Cove except to cover stories. So if I were eligible, I would definitely go for this one right here. Don't forget, we're hitting the road to Lake County, heading to Montverde next week. That's 34756. And we want to hear from you about stories you'd like to see covered there. clickorlando.com/hitstheroad. And that's going to do it for us here on Breakfast with Bridgett. And Weather-Wise with Jonathan Kegis is up next, followed by On Patrol with Trooper Steve. I'll see you at noon on WKMG News at noon. Take care.